Hello and welcome. 4th December is a special day for Indian Navy. On eve of the Indian Navy Day, I am delighted to join Admiral Karambir Singh, Chief of Naval Staff of the Indian Navy, to ask him about the Indian Navy's current status and future plans. Admiral Karambir Singh, thank you very much for your time. We are delighted to have you on this interview. The Indian Navy has had a glorious tradition. In fact, 4th December is celebrated because of its big success, wartime success in 1971. How do you see the Navy's status currently, Indian Navy status?
Thank you so much for having me on this interview. When I took over, I was fortunate to take over from a very illustrious predecessor and quite a visionary. So he had, put the Navy on a different track. We had started something called the mission-based deployments that put our ships into various important positions in the Indian Ocean region. And not only that, not only were we deployed there, but he put in mechanisms to ensure in terms of maintenance and in terms of refits, etc., so that we could have our ships deployed in these various positions. So that has had a lot of, given us a lot rich operational dividend. The Indian Navy has also been seen now as a very positive, in a positive way, and in a credible fashion in the Indian Ocean region. After having joined, my intention was to steer a steady course and only consolidate on what he had started. And my vision that I had enunciated after taking over was of a combat-ready, capable, or credible, combat-ready, credible and cohesive force. When I say combat-ready, it's pretty clear. But the fact remains that we would like to have a force that can react quickly to various challenges and situations that the countries, especially in the maritime domain. The nation will no longer like a force that is a force in being. They would like a force that could produce results and in quick time. So that is the reason why I said combat ready. Second part was of credible. Mm-hmm. Credibility is shown not only by having the potential, but showing that you can do something.
The outcomes, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. So that is where we put focus. We've tried to build preferred partnerships and with the nations around us. For example, when Mozambique had the cyclone, devastating cyclone Idai, we had our forces there, and we were credible. It showed credibility that we could deploy there. We were the first to reach there, and we were there for a week, providing succor to the people who were hit by this. So that is what I meant by credibility. So we wanted credibility, and also in terms of our interaction with the neighbourhood and island, Indian Ocean island regions. We wanted to build something called the comprehensive military capability. Mm-hmm. As a group, we would like to take a leadership role in giving our Indian Ocean region a comprehensive military capability to tackle all challenges. So that is why I said credible. And when I said cohesive, we wanted to basically break silos internally in all, for example, all maritime stakeholders, not only in coastal security, but also in the larger blue economy, so that we can work as a cohesive team and react to any challenge.
It also sort of flows from the Prime Minister's that Sagar concept that he had enunciated a number of years ago. But I think one of the other credible operations that you did was also in the Gulf of Persia, when the Saudi Arabia-Iran issue was hotting up. I think that must have been another big experience for the Indian warships there, I guess.
That's right. One of our enunciated roles is to protect trade, and you are aware that a very large percentage of our crude and gas comes from that region, as also the fact that we've got a very large population, expatriate population staying in that area. So when the problem started in early June, we were one of the first navies. We were the first navy to deploy for something called which we called Op Sankalp, wherein we deployed two ships initially to reassure our merchant shipping that we are there. As you know, initially there was a limpet mine threat. So we had embarked afloat security teams in the initial stages, and as things developed, we have adjusted our deployment accordingly. Our ships are still deployed there, and just to show that and to reassure our merchantmen that we are there should any eventuality happen.
Right. Looking at the larger strategic construct in the Indian Ocean and the littorals that, as you mentioned, there was this plan that India has had for some time, having ports, either having joint ventures or joint projects with the host nations like Seychelles, Mauritius. You also have something in Oman, for instance, and now Reunion Island in the French territory. What is the progress on those projects?
See, we had, because we are going to deploy in far reaches of the Indian Ocean region, we require areas where we could turn around and, if need be, extend our reach, especially in the southern Indian Ocean region. So we had got into an OTR, or operational turnaround agreement, on certain number of ports in this area and beyond, even in the South China Sea. The aim was that we could, as I mentioned to you, that we could deploy at will and not be constrained or tethered to the region. So we, like you mentioned, we are looking at various places for development, co-development of infrastructure, so that we can improve our reaction time and improve our ability to react to any situation that happens.
Right. So that's on track, that co-development?
That's right. Okay. That's on track. It's a whole of government kind of approach. It's not the Navy alone.
Right.
It's a whole of government.
Yeah. So one inevitable question that always crops up, and I'm sure you get this question around the world, is that how are you looking at the Chinese Navy's increasing forays into Indian Ocean, and especially towards Africa and beyond? They go through what is considered traditionally India's backyard. What is the challenge there, and how do we how does the Indian Navy face that challenge?
So the PLA Navy, before 2008, they were their presence was very, very rare in this area. They started in 2008 when they got involved in the anti-piracy escort force. Since then, their presence has been increasing. We've got at any given time about 7 to 8 ships, PLA ships in the area, whether it be anti-piracy or research vessels or int gathering vessels. So they have been operating. We are watching them. We also have, there are about close to 300 fishing vessels, Chinese fishing vessels, which operate in this area. So we are watching them, and basically if there's anything that impacts on our maritime security or our security interest, we are seeing what are the impact of that, and thereafter we will.
So that analysis goes on, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Now, talking about building partnerships in the neighborhood, you visited Bangladesh, you are about to visit Sri Lanka. How do you see this kind of association or cooperation with the neighbors as well as in the extended neighborhood? You have the IONS, which India is a major member or an important member, and also maybe the kind of bilateral exercises you do with so many navies around the world. How has that helped Indian Navy?
You see, all of us, the nations that we, or the navies that we are exercising with, we share a common vision of safe, secure, open seas, and which are supported by rules-based behavior. So that being the bottom line, since we share the same vision, we also are governed by Prime Minister Modi's vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region, the neighborhood first policy, and the Act East policy. These are the guiding principles on which we are operating with the neighborhood. Many cases, we have countries in the neighborhood, especially the island nations, that compared to their physical size, they have very large areas of responsibility, like EEZs. For example, Seychelles has an EEZ which is nearly 1,000 times its size. Right. So they have some capacity shortfalls. So we are focusing on A, helping out with capacity, B, with the soft power, that is training, and C, in getting the picture, the maritime domain awareness, shared maritime domain awareness in our Indian Ocean region. So that is our
That is how
largest
it
plan.
goes on. So IONS helps in that sense.
That's right.
And now you have the Milan exercise coming up in March 2020. And you just shifted it from Andaman Nicobar, from Port Blair to Vizag. Is there a reason for it, and how are you? Has it grown in size over the years?
Milan started off in 1995. So first edition had about 6 navies. The last edition, it's a biennial exercise.
Right.
So the last edition had 17 navies. The plan in Milan 2020 is to have 41 navies. So that kind of size, it becomes difficult to logistically and manage in Andaman. So we have shifted to Vizag. We also want to increase the complexity of these exercises.
I see.
So that is the basic
So
reason.
you mean it will not just be a kind of ceremonial thing that used to happen in Milan, but there are more exercises planned in
That's
there?
right. That's right. So we are looking at increasing the complexity of these exercises in terms of professional content.
I see. So coming on to tri-service issues, and given the status of India's defense budget, is there a way forward to pool resources for all the 3 services, and of course look at acquisitions which are common for all the 3 services? How does the Navy view this?
No, there definitely is scope. I think when the CDS, as and when he's appointed, that will be one of his primary tasks. And I feel there is scope, and it will help the overall budget management as well as application of force on a particular challenge or eventuality.
So towards that, are there some special efforts being made by each of the services to create jointmanship? And what is the status of the command that you have in the Tri-Service Command, or the agency that has been created, the cyber agency which is with the Navy?
So Defence Cyber Agency is just a fledgling agency. They've started their work, and you can already see the benefits because we have Defence Cyber Agency and service-specific cyber groups. So with their coordination and the Defence Cyber Agency's coordination with the larger national cyber network, we are already seeing the results, and I think it has got a good future.
On that note, Admiral, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure
Thank you so
talking
much.
to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.